for this video, we're going to go through the extra help for 4.3.3, which is on the last page of the packet. So for this concept, you're just going to want to use the 5 exponent rules, and there's no strict order that you need to do. Like PEMDAS is our order for how to simplify equations, but there's no real like PEMDAS for exponent rules. You kind of just go with your gut on what makes the most sense for that problem. And so the first thing that I always do is the 0 rule. So I always check to see if I have 0 exponents, and then I deal with those first. Only because the more you can get rid of off the bat, the less you have to deal with later. And so I only see 1 0 exponent, so I can just like cross that off. Because remember, anything to the 0 power turns into 1, and if I multiplied 1 times this, I would just get that. So I can just cross it out. My second thing that I always check for after that is the power rule. And the power rule is anything with exponents. Remember, or anything with parentheses, we want to multiply and distribute the exponents. And so in this case, I have exponents on the top and on the bottom, and then I have my -4 out here. And so that means I'm going to distribute to everything, top and bottom. So when I distribute, I multiply. And then don't lose that little k right there. I almost missed it. And since the k has no exponent, it's just to the 1. So 1 times -4 gives me -4. After the 0 rule and the power rule, it's really up to you or up to the problem what makes the most sense. So if you had both k's were up here, you would want to use the product rule because they're next to each other. Since both, or the 2 k's, one's on top and one's on bottom, then we want to use the quotient rule because they're separated by that fraction. The one thing that I will say is that I would do the negative rule last. Only because if you start moving things around with your negatives and your positives, you might create another negative that you have to deal with, which would be unfortunate. So if I like fixed all of these negatives and then I did, or like this would be a good example. If I moved this -3 to the bottom to fix it, then as soon as I distribute this -4, I'm just creating more negatives. And so that's going to create a problem for me. So that's why I wait and do the negative rule last. So for this, the quotient rule, like I said, we're subtracting, and just be really careful. When there's negatives involved, I like to write it out. So -8 minus -4 is -8 plus 4, which gives me -4. So I have k to the -4 on top. So whenever you do the quotient rule, what's left is on top. Y to the 12th, and then g to the -12th. So now you see like I have 1k, 1y, and 1g, and so I don't have to do the quotient or the product rule anymore. So now all I have left to do is the negative rule where I can move this to the bottom and this to the top. And that's my very last step. So I have y to the 12th, g to the 12th, over k to the 4th. Now I have no negatives, I have no duplicates, and I do not have a number to an exponent, so this is my final answer. So I think having like this list of rules, like do 0 first, then power, negative last, will be, will be super helpful for you to make sure that you are able to get all the way through the problem. I hope this helped.